Imagine this, just one single leaked audio clip. And suddenly, it sends these huge shockwaves through a whole country's political scene. We're talking legal battles, big debates in parliament, and this massive discussion about leadership, about national dignity, and that really tricky balance between your personal ties and public duty. That's exactly what's unfolding in Thailand right now. And it all centers on a conversation involving the current prime minister. So today, we're doing a deep dive into this political firestorm. It was ignited by a leaked audio recording, allegedly between Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn and the former Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen.
Let's unpack the specific claims, look at the legal side, the political fallout, and really try to understand why this one clip is causing such tremors in Thai politics. What's actually at stake here for Thailand's stability, its place on the world stage, and maybe even how they define political integrity itself. Okay, let's dig in.
Right. So the heart of it, the thing that's really kicked all this off, is this alleged private chat between Prime Minister Paetongtarn and former Cambodian PM Hun Sen. And some specific phrases really jumped out, things like uncle and niece. Now, in a Thai context, those terms can suggest a really close personal relationship, maybe even deference. It kind of blurs the lines between formal state-to-state talk and something more personal.
Okay, so uncle and niece. What else was said?
There was also an offer, reportedly something like, tell me what you want, I'll arrange it. And maybe the most pointed bit, the military is against us. Now, that phrase immediately sets off alarm bells, especially given Thailand's history with military involvement in politics.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to remember the background tension here too, right? Between Thailand and Cambodia.
Exactly. There's a whole history there. Disputes over territory, some recent incidents along the border. So this conversation isn't happening in a vacuum. It lands right in the middle of existing friction.
So with all that context, how did the prime minister actually respond when this clip blew up?
Well, her first line of defense was basically that it was just a normal conversation, leader to leader talk. She insisted there was no personal gain involved. And crucially, she said, Thailand didn't lose anything.
Thailand didn't lose anything. But that didn't really calm things down, did it? It almost felt like it added fuel to the fire.
You're absolutely right. It really didn't land well. The criticism was pretty widespread. Many felt that a national leader, they should understand the wider implications of a conversation like that. Even if you personally believe nothing bad happened, the perception matters. The public reaction was pretty strong dismay, anger even.
Why the anger? Was it just the phrasing?
It was partly the phrasing, partly the dismissal of it as normal. It came across to many as showing a lack of awareness about how damaging this could be to national prestige. And then things got more complicated. Because if Thailand really lost nothing, and she gained nothing personally, why apologize?
Ah, right. She did apologize afterwards, didn't she?
She did. First, sort of generally to the public for causing discomfort, and then she made a formal apology to the 2nd Army Area Commander. So you see the contradiction, saying no harm done and then apologizing. It made people question either her sincerity or maybe her grasp of just how serious the situation looked.
Okay, so internal pressure building. But then it spilled over internationally, too. Former Cambodian PM Hun Sen chimed in.
He did. And this really turned up the heat. Hun Sen publicly stated that Thailand might potentially have a new prime minister within 3 months.
Wow. What was the impact of that?
It was huge. You combine that statement with the already leaked clip, it just destabilizes things even more in Thailand. And it hits their international standing. To think about it, it's not just idle chat. It's coming from a major regional figure. It signals a potential lack of confidence in the current leadership from the outside. That can weaken Thailand's hand in negotiations, fuel all sorts of speculation inside the country. It really puts enormous pressure on the government.
So it moved way beyond just bad press. This is now firmly in the legal and political courts, so to speak. The Constitutional Court is looking at this.
Oh, absolutely. All eyes are on July 1st. That's the date the Constitutional Court decides whether to formally accept the case against Prime Minister Paetongtarn. And if they do accept it, the stakes are high. The court could order her to temporarily step aside, suspend her duties while they review the whole thing.
And I heard something about the translation of the clip being really important here. That the full version might be worse.
Yes, that's a critical point. There's a full Khmer to Thai translation being looked at, and experts, professional translators, are saying it might be, quote, more severe or heavier than the version initially put out by Hun Sen's aide. If that's true, it could seriously change how the court views the conversation and its implications for Thailand's interests.
What does more severe mean, though? Like, what could be different?
Well, we don't know the exact details yet, but it raises questions, doesn't it? What might have been left out or softened in that first version, and why? The actual full content could dramatically shift the legal ground.
Has the Constitutional Court ever done something like this before? Suspended or removed a sitting prime minister?
Yes, there's a very relevant, very recent precedent, the case of former Prime Minister Shrestha Thavisin. The court took about 87 days, but ultimately they did remove him from office. The reason cited was a lack of integrity related to an appointment he made. So while the facts here are different, this involves foreign relations, which adds complexity. The court has shown it's willing to act against a sitting PM over issues of integrity or ethics.
Okay, so the Constitutional Court is one major front. But aren't there other investigations or complaints happening too?
Correct. This isn't just hitting one body. Complaints have also gone to the National Anti-Corruption Commission, the NACC, which looks into corruption and ethics breaches by officials. And complaints have also been filed with the Election Commission, the EC, focusing on electoral rules and integrity. So it's a multi-pronged challenge, really, looking at ethics, integrity, potential abuse of power.
And Parliament's getting involved as well.
That's right. The Phunjai Thai Party, which is actually a partner in the governing coalition, has scheduled what's called a general debate. It's non-binding, no vote at the end, but it starts July 3rd. And you can bet this whole incident will be front and center. It's another public arena for scrutiny, for political pressure to be applied.
So it sounds like July is shaping up to be an incredibly intense month, not just for the prime minister, but maybe for the whole Shinawatra family.
That's a very important connection to make. Yes, people are calling July a crucial month for the family. Because alongside this case against the PM, there's a separate Supreme Court case involving her father, Thaksin Shinawatra. That's also happening in early July, with multiple witnesses expected. So you have these two major legal and political situations converging at the same time. It ramps up the pressure immensely on the family and, by extension, on the government itself.
Have any legal experts weighed in specifically on the PM's potential suspension?
Yes, Dr. Charnafakta, who's a highly respected figure, a former constitutional court judge himself, has given his opinion, and it's quite sobering. He believes she could indeed be suspended. His reasoning focuses on the perception of a national leader being too submissive in that kind of diplomatic talk, especially when there are active border issues. He argues that's dangerous for national prestige, for dignity, for sovereignty. He even said he personally felt sad watching the clip, which kind of highlights the emotional weight of this for many Thais.
Wow. Sad. That's quite a statement from a former judge.
It is, and it's telling that even the current president of the Constitutional Court has publicly acknowledged that this case is tough. That signals just how complex and serious they view the decision they have to make.
Okay, so with all these legal cases, political debates, the translation issue, where does this leave things? What are the sort of bigger picture implications here beyond the immediate fight?
Well, first, there's the economy. This kind of political instability isn't good for business, is it? It could negatively affect Thailand's economy. Think about trade talks, like those ongoing negotiations about U.S. tariffs. Uncertainty makes things harder. And then there's international relations. A government perceived as weak or unstable might find its bargaining power diminished, especially in talks with neighbors like Cambodia. It could make Thailand seem more vulnerable.
What about the government's position internally? You mentioned coalition partners.
Yeah, they seem to be caught in a really tough spot, a kind of political gridlock. On one hand, there's this underlying fear, maybe heightened by the clip's mention of the military, about potential military intervention, always a factor in Thai politics. But on the other hand, they're facing demands from their own coalition partners, possibly even threats to withdraw support if they don't get certain cabinet positions or concessions. It's like a catch-22. Trying to hold things together might just create more instability.
So given that difficult position, what are people suggesting as a way out? What are the potential resolutions being discussed?
Well, you're starting to hear louder calls from various commentators for more drastic action. Some are suggesting the prime minister should resign. Others are floating the idea of dissolving the House of Representatives altogether. The argument is that either of these moves could allow the country to sort of reset, move past the immediate crisis, and maybe consider new leadership rather than just letting this drag on and on.
And are there specific political figures offering analysis on this?
Yes, definitely. Paetongtarn, who's a pretty outspoken political commentator, has a sharp critique. She essentially sees the government's approach, what she calls forcing through the crisis, as being driven more by personal and family interests. holding on to power, dealing with legal issues for the family rather than what's best for the country. She's pointed to things like border closures, arguing they hurt ordinary Thais while maybe trying to appease Hun Sen. She wants solutions that fix the core problem without harming the people.
Okay, so that's one perspective, prioritizing national interest over personal or family concerns. What about someone like Paetongtarn? He'd led the main opposition party.
PETA offers a slightly different angle. He makes this interesting distinction between perseverance, sticking to your principles, and just forcing through a crisis regardless of the cost. He actually suggests that dissolving the House could be seen as an honorable way out for the ruling party, a chance to maybe regain some legitimacy, clear the air, deal with these entanglements through a new mandate. He also criticized what he termed self-obsession in politics, where parties get so focused on their own survival that they lose sight of the bigger national picture. He implies this situation might be an example of that.
It really feels like this whole affair just throws these fundamental challenges into sharp relief, doesn't it? How power is used, where the line is between personal relationships and national duty, potential conflicts of interest.
Exactly. That line where personal ties end and national interest begins is so crucial for good governance, for transparency, for accountability. And this incident has really forced that issue right out into the open for everyone in Thailand to grapple with.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, it's pretty clear how one leaked conversation, maybe seeming small initially, can just spiral into this incredibly complex situation. Legal challenges, political instability, these deep questions about integrity, from the courts to parliament to just everyday conversations. That delicate line between personal connections and public responsibility is under intense scrutiny.
It really is. And it leaves us, and maybe you listening, with a bigger question to think about. In our world today, with information flying around instantly, leaders constantly interacting globally, what rules, what clear principles do we need? How do we make sure that personal influence doesn't end up overshadowing the national interest? And who or what really holds leaders accountable when those lines get blurry? It's definitely something to keep mulling over as this situation continues to develop in Thailand.